why Palpatine is the greatest movie villain ever. I could see a strong argument for this.
Just try. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
Very iconic.
Can you even have a great movie without a great villain?
Technically, I would say so. It's possible.
Okay, maybe you can, but it's not nearly as much fun.
I would argue it's because people want that conflict, people want that contention, people want to see the overcoming of adversity. If I had to put my finger on it,
Back to hell where it belongs.
I'm making sure I don't get copyrighted.
And that's true even for non-Disney movies.
Human beings define their reality through misery and suffering.
Is this your game?
I'm your #1 fan.
I won't touch Barton, not until I make him kill you.
These are within 7 seconds of each other, but I've been running into a lot of YouTube copyright issues recently, so please bear with me.
Intimately.
So it's no surprise that when 1,000 film industry pros were asked about the greatest villain of all time, their choice was Emperor Wait.
Good morning.
He's not even on the list?
Really?
Idiots! Imbeciles!
I would argue, if anything, Vader would have taken that spot. I could actually see how he'd be off that list. I could actually see it. Because he really was more of a background villain. He was the quote-unquote bigger bad behind Vader. He was the Emperor. I could absolutely see that, actually.
Could they really not find space for a villain who emerged from across the gulf of time to settle an epic grudge, hiding in plain sight until he could twist the hero of the movie into his personal pawn in order to enslave the universe to his will?
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is being overlooked here?
The goat
of Palpatine's plan? Because after all, a villain is only as good as his plan.
Do I really look like a guy with a plan?
By the time of the Phantom Menace, the Phantom Menace is about to execute the next step in his plan to take full control of the galaxy.
Really, the prequels got so much flack. They really did. And I really love that the prequels have become so cherished and beloved at this point. It really was telling a different story, where the original series was this, the underdog overcoming adversity in the Empire, right? It was the rebels overcoming the Empire, an anti-authoritarian message, if you will, which I will not be delving into the politics behind the inspiration behind that George Lucas had. However, it is a very anti-authoritarian message, at the very least, for the rebels to overcome the Empire. It was brilliant. It was a very, very good opera story. And the prequels were a more political story. You literally have, as I like to... People, I don't know, the Star Wars prequels were too political. Mate, it literally opens up with Naboo being embargoed. They have a literal sanction on... Not sanction, what's the word I'm looking for? It was the Trade Federation, right? They were blockading. That was the word I was looking for. They're blockading Naboo. They are effectively cutting it off. There's so much politics. It's great.
And no one has any idea.
Blockade, thank you.
They're all way too focused on the political process to see Palpatine's scheme unfolding right before their eyes.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, hey, maybe they could start a YouTube channel.
His evil scheme is he really wants Queen Amidala to sign a paper.
I have never known the plot.
Oh my, there's no way. There's no way that's real. That's got to be staged, right? This has got to be staged.
Their eyes. Oh, hey, maybe they could start a YouTube channel.
His evil scheme is he really wants Queen Amidala to sign a paper.
He's not kidding, isn't he? He's not. He's actually not kidding. Oh no. Yeah, this is why I remember I can't talk with normies. I'm sure he's got some great content. I'm sure he's got some great views. No hate at it. I couldn't carry on a conversation with him. Like that. Yes, that was the point. Is that Palpatine is pressuring the entire Galactic Senate into. God, when was this? This was episode. Was that episode 1 or 2?
Folding, right? They're all way.
This is 1. Okay, yeah. So this is to give him emergency powers, right? No, wait. This is. This specifically was to... Because Plagueis was still alive at this point, from my understanding. I think it's the next night he's dead. And background Star Wars lore. And this is him trying to succeed Supreme Chancellor Valorum. Thus, needing a vote of no confidence in Chancellor Valorum, who was actually a supporter, but was getting bogged down by the Trade Federation in the Senate. You just hear that, chat, and you're just like, that is so political. But that's why I love it. It's all of this cloak and dagger BS. It's so Scorpion, it hurts, and I love it.
Too focused on the political process to see Palpatine's scheme unfolding right before
I had to
their
watch
eyes.
this.
Oh, hey, maybe they could start a YouTube channel.
His evil scheme is he really wants Queen Amidala to sign a paper.
I have never known the plot of this movie until now, after having watched
What?
this movie for 20 years.
How? I mean, okay. To be fair, it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I really started to actually look at what was being shown by the movie, like what narrative, what plot lines, what subjects it was trying to touch on. But the moment I got it, I started to get it. There's a reason this is in, God, my top 3. I mean, my top 3 are probably like Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith. I gotta give it to 1 at this point. 1 and 5 are so close. It's so close. It hurts, but it's so good.
Okay. I don't get it.
Unfortunately, Palpatine isn't the type to just drop out of the sky and announce his plan to destroy civilization.
You are about to die at the hands of the children of Thanos.
Why should he? He's got the Republic exactly where he wants it. And the Jedi think the Sith's return is
Impossible.
Right. Oh man, there's a whole commentary on how the Jedi are not what they used to be as well. They are well past their prime at this point, and it is a beautiful orchestration to their downfall. It really is. The fact that there's layers to the prequel trilogy is nothing short of masterful. And I may disagree with some Lucas-isms. Episode 2, right? Episode 2, the stupid apple scene. You know that was a Lucas-ism. We know that's a Lucas-ism. I don't agree with things like that, but I will give Lucas credit where credit is due. He really did put together a good story that a lot of people can digest, and people like me can dive into on a deeper philosophical and psychological level. It's absolutely just amazing. It's perfect. There's the fall.
The Sith have been extinct.
That is a gray area.
A millennium is a long time to be planning revenge. That would be like if the descendants of Genghis Khan came back now to take revenge on Russia? When the Sith went extinct, it was clearly at the hands of a dangerous, capable Jedi Order. And it sounds like whatever happened then is part of what created the Republic.
Okay, I mean, it depends if we're going... God, is it? No, Bane was canonized now, wasn't he? He was in Legends, but then he moved to canon, where there was so much Sith infighting. The rule of 2 was established. 1 master, 1 apprentice, to make sure the Sith remained strong. And I know Bane was the progenitor of that, at least in modernity. Yeah, no, Bane's canon now. Yeah. But yeah, no, it also makes sense because they were able to hide a lot better at that point in time. And in regards to why the Jedi couldn't sense anything during the prequel trilogy, Palpatine and I believe, I almost said Sifo-Dyas. That is not who that was. Banking Clan. Darth Plagueis the Wise. I had to actually think of the quote. Palpatine and Darth Plagueis were doing dark side shenanigans to actually kind of veil their presence and veil their shenanigans and stuff. They're to be forgotten of all time. So here's the thing about the Christmas special, is without the Christmas special, we don't have Boba Fett. I like reminding people about that.
This republic that stood for 1,000 years.
That's why the Jedi seem so confident. And yet, the Sith
They're
seem
complacent.
pretty sure of themselves too.
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
I'm pretty sure by this point in the extended lore, Maul already killed a Jedi. I think he did.
That's because the Jedi Order has lost a step. Now, they're just an inflexible hierarchy making arbitrary decisions from a literal ivory tower.
Yeah? Yeah?
Is strong with him.
He is to be trained then?
No.
No. He will not be trained.
I love seeing the take a seat memes. Oh my god, Samuel L. Jackson did an absolutely perfect job as Mace Windu. It's chef's kiss. I love it.
Whatever they were before, there's little more than a ghost left of it now. As Dave Filoni says, this sense that the Jedi have lost their mission is what makes Qui-Gon's death so tragic.
What's at stake is really how Anakin's going to turn out. Because Qui-Gon is different than the rest of the Jedi, and you get that in the movie, and Qui-Gon is fighting because he knows he's the father that Anakin needs.
But instead of that father, Anakin gets this one.
The chosen one the boy may be. But agree with your taking this boy as your Padawan learner. I do not.
The rest of the Jedi are so detached and they've become so political that they've really lost their way.
Dave Filoni just has an understanding of this, and I absolutely love this man.
Yoda starts to see that in the second film, but Qui-Gon is ahead of them all. That's a failing for Anakin. He doesn't have the family that he needs.
No.
So he's left completely vulnerable.
What will happen to me now?
Palpatine steps into that role of guidance for Anakin, filling his head with a very different idea of destiny.
You are the most gifted Jedi I have ever met. I see you becoming the greatest of all Jedi, Anakin.
I will be the most powerful Jedi ever. I promise.
You know, and this is actually the part where a lot of people gave Hayden Christensen a lot of flack. Because a lot of people are like, oh, well, he's just some annoying kid. He's just an annoying teenager. He's just so whiny. Mate, have you literally watched the movie? Dude, Hayden Christensen played him perfectly in 2 and 3. Absolute perfect acting. Because he did act that. Anakin is a youth that is struggling with trauma. His mother in this, right, just died. So, and he doesn't know, he knows it's wrong, doesn't necessarily know why it's wrong, right? And yeah, he takes it out on the Sand People. He does, whether the Tusken Raiders deserved it or not, right? Moral ambiguity there, right? He just lost his mother, who he and his mother were in slavery. You even see in Clone Wars where there's an episode in Clone Wars, I think it's season 4 or something like that, where Anakin has to play a slave, and he actually medical definition of triggered, like, because he was a slave. He was freed of slavery. Now he's having to deal with slavers. So he's not happy about it. And yeah, he's going to be flashing back to stuff like this. It's if there any 13-year-old force power suddenly and kill you. Exactly, yeah. And so Hayden Christensen, for a number of years, got so much flack. And it wasn't until the past few years that I was able to just kind of like think about it. And he really acted it perfectly. And I'm so glad. I saw a clip of an interview, and fans were just applauding Hayden Christensen. And they're just saying that, how good of an actor he was. He played it just perfectly.
Promise you.
And since Anakin's relationships grow increasingly strained, both with the Jedi Council and with Obi-Wan,
that was some shortcut, Anakin. Good job.
Palpatine is the only person who truly believes in Anakin.
I arguably would say that that's playful banter. When you fight someone who's done sword fighting, right? When you, or any I'm assuming combat, right? You have your combat battle buddies, right? In the military, right? You fight with someone long enough. You are with someone long enough. Those are just mannerisms. How many times has maybe someone in your moto pool, right? Just you've walked up to each other and just kind of given each other the finger, or you've just said something super heinous, but you both laugh at it, right? That kind of thing, right? How many? I know people that I used to work with people. One of their best friends, they were friends because one of them stabbed the other person. Not that I recommend doing that. That's how they became friends. Is that one of them stabbed the other person and they just kind of laughed it off, right? Obi-Wan is also the definition of sass, so that all should be taken into consideration here.
Anakin's potential.
And so, they've finally given you an assignment. Your patience has paid off.
In fact, he's essentially the only person from the entire Republic who's ever shown him any support.
The Republic's anti-slavery laws are...
The Republic doesn't exist out here.
In many ways, the prequels are the story of an arrogant religion who get a hold of the Messiah and then accidentally hand him over to the devil.
Yeah.
The war doesn't go well either.
Oh, Clone Wars, baby.
What we get to see of the Clone Wars is pretty sick.
It was really good, actually. The Clone Wars were really good.
And people wanted more of it. Like, a lot more of it. This is a really good show, by the way. I wonder why it's so... Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Dave Filoni is an absolute just master at this. He's so good. I think I got to season 5. I need to finish it.
For the story Lucas was telling, the only things that really matter about the Clone Wars are how they begin and how they end. That's certainly all that matters to Palpatine.
I love democracy.
You know the funny thing about this promise?
I will not let this republic be split in two.
Yeah.
He kept it.
Yeah.
Ironic.
There were never two sides to the war.
It was just
him.
him.
Of course, it looks like you have Dooku and the Separatists and Grievous versus the Jedi and the clones and the Republic.
You do see this a little more in the Clone Wars, where he is playing both sides. There is very little variables in Palpatine's schemes in the Clone Wars. This was set up by him. He was in command of the control of the clones. There was not really a point where he was out of control of them. He was in control of the raging Senate. He was in control of the separatist movement. And notice that anyone that deviated, because there were good separatists, Clone Wars actually touched on that. There were separatists that just wanted fairness, wanted equality. Notice that some of them that tried to stir up trouble ended up dying under mysterious circumstances. Palpatine owned that board.
But the reality is, all of these people are fighting for the same guy. This guy. This one right here.
It's for his amusement.
It was a proxy war. It was a sham. A manufactured crisis that made hypocrites out of the Jedi.
We're keepers of the peace, not soldiers.
Destabilized planets across the galaxy.
Yes, here we are being held hostage.
And extended the range of Palpatine's control.
Yeah.
Listen to the music here.
No, it's you can hear themes of the Imperial March in there. Like you can hear the notes of it, the Imperial March, because this is the beginning of the formation of the Empire.
This is the birth of the Empire.
This is not pre-watched. That was literally me commenting on that.
That's why Palpatine plunged the galaxy into the fog of war and made peacekeepers forget their purpose.
Yeah.
Politics. And the Jedi just stood by and watched, seemingly ignorant of the real game being played. They totally missed the importance of... wait, it's here somewhere. Oh, yeah, the Chosen One. The Jedi's fate is inextricably connected to Anakin's. And who is the only person he trusts? Not them.
My trust in them has been shaken.
I mean, what did he give them other than Obi-Wan and technically Ahsoka, but Ahsoka even then leaves due to events in the Clone Wars, right? He really doesn't have anyone he can trust. I mean, it's him, Padme, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka. I think Rex, right? Rex is on pretty good terms because he was part of the 501st. Rex escaped it, but what would become Vader's fist was formerly the 501st, which Rex was a part of. The 501st fought with Anakin very well. It's wild.
But they don't see this. They don't see a lot of things.
Blind we are.
They kind of look like idiots, honestly.
Chancellor Palpatine, Sith Lords are our speciality.
The sass.
They don't notice when Palpatine uses Anakin to siphon their power away. And when they finally discover the truth,
a Sith Lord,
they rush in a very un-Jedi-like manner.
The best thing Anakin could have actually done there was to stay in that hangar. The fact that he went there played right into Palpatine's hands. I would argue the most variable thing in Palpatine's late game was him versus Windu, because Windu, what was it? New Vapad, which actually fed on the dark side to fuel it. So think of like a fan, right? A fan starts getting wind and it starts churning faster and faster and faster. Vapad and dealing with the dark side. So it's interesting when you get to the final encounter, because there is that moment where Palpatine's on the ground and Anakin rushes in. Palpatine could, in fact, be powerless, but could also be an act. It's really up to really up to viewer interpretation of that.
Going slowly on the left.
Taking him now. No, Anakin, no!
They just assume that it's going to go the same way it did 1,000 years ago. And the Jedi Council's rejection of Anakin.
You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master.
It is the right call. It is the right call for him to not do that, though, is the thing. It is the right call for them to not grant him the rank of master, because they are suspect of Palpatine at this point. Like something's not right. He is retaining power for way too long. He has maintained those emergency powers for well past his term.
What? Comes back to haunt them. When Palpatine activates Order 66.
Trying to
the Jedi
gauge
who
audio.
scoffed at the idea of the Siths returning from extinction are annihilated in a matter.
Mace Windu, under any other circumstances, would have been wrong for trying to strike down Palpatine. Literally anybody else, any other figure, any other, Dark Jedi, which technically those aren't canon. I don't know. They are canon. There hasn't been one in a while, though. Maybe like a Knight of Rand, right? Anyone else, he would have been in the wrong for doing it. Because it was Palpatine. Because he had effectively the entirety of the Senate, or at least the vast majority of the Senate, under his control and influence, that was the correct call. It's one of those morally gray calls. Mace Windu was in the right for trying to strike down Palpatine at that point. Everything considered.
Of minutes. Most of them never knowing how deep their failure truly went.
And that hurt.
And now,
Order 66 hurt for everyone who could feel
to
that.
Become emperor.
With thunderous applause.
He promises the galaxy.
Security and continuing stability.
Although we get to see the fates of those who Palpatine previously promised security to.
Right. Excellent duality.
Promised us peace. The only one.
They're just loose ends. Why would he bother? Why would he bother holding promises to those that no longer have use to them? Is really what it comes down to. They have, as the Separatists, fulfilled their use. And this also wins brownie points over with Anakin because he gets to end, quote unquote, the Clone War, which was a proxy war all along. Palpatine has no use for it. And that's the beauty of Palpatine because he is a brilliant, I believe he's as a sociopath. I don't think he's a psychopath. I think he's sociopathic. He is a brilliantly written sociopath. He doesn't see people as people. He sees people as tools, as pawns, as numbers, as expendable, as they have their use, for so long as they are useful. Once they are no longer useful, why should I care? And it is just beautiful to witness.
Palpatine's final victory is almost unmatched in its scope. Revenge of the Sith is like a Renaissance painting of Judgment Day.
No. Rich and sociopathic and psychopathic are incredibly different. There's definitions here because Palpatine has power. It's not necessarily that he's rich, that he comes from a rich family. It's that he is. I'm trying to figure out what I can and can't say. It is a brand of neurodivergency, is what I will say. It's that. I really don't feel qualified to speak on it, though. I would recommend researching sociopathy and how sociopaths view the world. Sociopathy itself isn't bad. What it can become, if left untreated and if left to its own devices, can lead to bad things. That's the important takeaway that I can give here. I would recommend doing research into how sociopaths interact with the world.
Where the Republic's political and spiritual powers crumble into nothing. And its hero tries to murder his wife before crossing swords with his brother and being consumed by wrath.
You were my brother, Anakin.
It's a rough finale.
And when it's all over, Palpatine swoops into hell like the Angel of Death. And Darth Vader is born. As the last person in the galaxy who still believes he has any good in him dies. Who is Palpatine's competition exactly? Satan? Because that's basically who Palpatine is.
I mean, I think we're drawing religious parallels at that point. And while you do open up that for interpretation when dealing with the Jedi and the Sith in regards to theologies and, religions, I tend to steer clear of it. I can see the parallels.
The most promising Jedi down to the fires of hell, returning him to the state of slavery he was born in, as a machine with a skull where his face used to be.
And I'm telling you, this finale, it's unbelievable how tepid contemporary art seemed compared to the passionate quality of this finale. So you have this huge, it's like romantic nature painting, apocalyptic landscape of the lava. Lucas cross-cuts destruction of the Senate chamber, and you have the destruction of industry going on. And then
Yeah.
after all these horrors, it is so beautiful. I'm saying, my God, nothing in the last 30 years in any of the arts has been produced as emotionally compelling and significant as the finale of Revenge of the Sith.
It really is a good finale. And it took a while getting out of a Last Living situation to fully be able to watch it again, because some of it hit a little too close to home. It is such a powerful finale. And it's if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend watching it. It is, even just from an art standpoint, even just like cinematography, right? Just viewing it from that standpoint, viewing it in a critiquing fashion, right? It is beautiful.
In other words, the only thing that eclipses the scope of Palpatine's villainy is the scope of Star Wars itself.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. All your comments have been a huge encouragement to the channel, so please don't stop. And feel free to subscribe if you don't want to miss hearing about an underappreciated aspect of a Star Wars movie that is a little bit older than this one.
Did you hear that? It's been a while since I've watched A New Hope. It's been, God, years. New Hope's probably one of my least watched ones. Not because I don't like it necessarily. It's just not one I ever really watch. This is probably going to get really strange with advertisers, so I do apologize in advance if some of this audio is muted. I tried the best I can because I have personally been experiencing a lot of copyright issues on YouTube. I have also been experiencing a lot of demonetization issues on YouTube with just seemingly random demonetizations. But I thought this was excellent. I thought this was great. I do love that So Uncivilized is the name of the channel. It's absolutely perfect. If you haven't watched them before, it does look like they're putting out great Star Wars content, so I would absolutely recommend you going over and check it out. This was an absolute awesome watch. It was good to see somebody else analyze episode 3 in as much detail as I like to, if not more in certain aspects. And it was awesome. I definitely recommend you check them out.